Today we are going to talk about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey, which is a book that I chose to not only just read for the sake of this class, but to also read to help myself become a better teacher, better person, and all around improve myself in the aspect of professional development. One of the biggest ideas that stuck out to me from the beginning of this book is the importance on how we look at life. Stephen talks about it by saying we must look at the lens through which we see the world, as well as the world we see, and that the lens itself shapes how we interpret the world. We are constantly shaped by the things all around us, and in order to truly understand the situation, we must take a step back and reevaluate the lens through which we are looking. We often get stuck on the changing behaviors, changing habits, changing everything around us. But before we can change anything, we must first change ourselves. That is the key to success. The analogy that Stephen uses to explain navigating this change is finding the right map. If we want to get to a certain location on the map, a certain end goal, we can't even begin the journey if we don't first have the right map. While we want to work on our behaviors, we want to change our attitudes, try harder, think more positively, we can't do anything, we can't do any of that unless we have the right map. We also have to remember that we can't jump right to an end goal. We have to make a shift, whether the shift is positive or negative, whether it's instantaneous or developmental. The shift is what moves us from one way of seeing the world to another. It's what helps us reach a new level of thinking, and that is the overall goal of this book. Now, before we get into the 7 habits, we must first understand that habit is defined as the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. Knowledge is the what to do and the why. Skill is the how to do, and the desire is the motivation, or the what to do. All of these things are intertwined together, as are the 7 habits, each building and feeding off of each other. Because these 7 habits are based on principles, they bring the maximum long-term beneficial results possible. They become the basis of a person's character, creating an empowering center of correct maps for which we can effectively solve problems, maximize opportunities, and continually learn and integrate other principles in upward growth. Habit 1. Be proactive. Throughout life, we are taught that psychologically a stimulus triggers a response. That's how the brain works. But the piece that we so often miss is the in-between. The in-between the stimulus and the response. That is our freedom to choose. That is what sets us apart as humans. We have the ability to make our own choices. Because we are, by nature, proactive, if our lives are a function of conditioning and conditions, it is because we have, by conscious decisions or by default, chosen to empower those things that control us. Our self-awareness, our imagination, our conscience, and our independent will. The proactive approach is to change from the inside out, to be different. Be different, be you. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, so that the steps you take are always in the right direction. The most effective way to begin with the end in mind is to write a personal mission statement. Focus on what you want to be, what you want to do, and the values and principles upon which being and doing are based. More often than not, a person's center is some combination of these centers that are shown here, or other centers in the world around us. Most people are a function of a variety of influences that play upon our daily lives. But at the center of all of this is ourself, and we must always keep in mind ourself and our personal goals. Habit 3, put first things first. This habit is this physical creation. It's the fulfillment, the actualization, the natural emergence of the first two habits. It is the exercise of independent will. It is the day in and day out, moment by moment, doing it. In order to succeed in putting first things first, we must first organize ourselves. Long-term organization centers around the personal mission statement. We break this down into roles and then into goals so that step by step, little by little, our mission is achieved. On a smaller scale, we break it down even further into plans and then a schedule. Habit 1 says you're the program. Habit 2 says write the program. But habit 3 says run the program, live the program. That is where we use our independent will, our self-discipline, our integrity, our commitment to run our own success. Habit 4, think win-win. This is where teamwork and collaboration come into play. It is easy to get caught up in the me factor, but in the real world, we're all a team. Whether you are president of a company or the janitor, the moment you step in from independence into the interdependence in any capacity, you step into a leadership role. You are in a position of influencing other people, and the habit of an effective interpersonal leadership is thinking win-win. This is the frame of mind and the heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit in all human interactions. Character is the foundation of win-win, and everything else built upon that foundation. Relationships are built and maintained based on the foundation of character. The trust, the emotional bank account, is the essence of win-win. Without trust, the best we can do is compromise. From relationships, flow the agreements that give definition and direction to win-win. They are also referred to as partnership or performance. Win-win can only survive in an organization when the system supports it. You have to talk the talk to walk the walk. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So, what does it mean to truly listen? We're taught to listen to others, to respect others, to hear what people have to say. But do we truly know what it means to listen, to empathetically listen? We have such a tendency to rush in, to fix things up with good advice. But we often fail to take the time to diagnose, to really deeply understand the problem, to truly listen. Empathetic listening is risky. It takes a great deal of security to go into deep listening experience, because then you open yourself up to being influenced. You become vulnerable, and that's not something we easily succumb to. But if we take the time to listen, we open up the possibilities to learn and achieve to a deeper success. As we learn to deeply listen to other people, we discover tremendous differences in perception. We also begin to appreciate the impact that these differences can have as people try to work together in the interdependent situations. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. Most people listen with the intent to reply. For this habit, we must seek to understand. Then we aim to be understood. Habit 6, synergize. What does that mean? What is synergy? Synergy, simply put, means the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. It means that the relationship which the parts have to each other is a part in and of itself. It is not only a part, but the most catalytic, the most empowering, the most unifying, and the most exciting part. Synergy stems from a level of communication. Communication which is built on trust and cooperation. For example, this diagram shows how closely trust is related to the different levels of communication. This is how we build ourselves and those around us to be the best that we can possibly be. This is how we achieve win-win. Together, we are greater than we are apart. And finally, habit 7, sharpen the saw. The last habit, the balanced self-renewal. This is the preserving and enhancing the greatest asset that you have, you. It is renewing the 4 dimensions of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional. By sharpening the saw, we exercise all 4 dimensions of our nature regularly and consistently in wise and balanced ways. This is the true joy in life, that being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as the mighty one. Rejoice in your own life for its own sake. Life is no candle. It is a sort of splendid torch which we have to uphold for the moment, and we want to make burn brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. We want to serve the future with unconditional love, but we must first encompass our whole self in this unconditional love. We must achieve balanced self-renewal. I hope that through this review and this slideshow that you are able to take away as much as I did from the 7 habits, and I highly recommend that you taking the time to read Stephen Covey's book as a resource helping your own self in achieving the best that you can possibly be, so that you can achieve personal and interpersonal effectiveness from the inside out.